Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary, Orchard, and I are back, and we are excited to help you with forming those habits. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is iOS Today, episode 635, recorded Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. Setting habits in the new year. Welcome back to iOS Today, and Happy New Year to all of you listening, watching, tuning in. Thank you for being here with us. This, of course, is the show where we talk all things iOS, tvOS, HomePod OS, watchOS, iPad OS. There are lots of OSs, and we talk about them and the apps and services that we use as part of those platforms here on iOS Today. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent.
And I am Rosemary Orchard, back and excited for 2023, Mikah, though I guess I'm cheating because I'm on holiday next week. So I kind of get to break in the new year a little bit and then go off and relax and leave you to do all the hard work.
You know what? I'm happy for you, because I have to tell you, last night I thought, oh, it's back into the swing of things tomorrow. Could I have a break? So I'm glad you are taking one. And yes, we will have a special guest with us next week. But until then, as this is the start of the new year, this is often the time where people will make resolutions for themselves. Sort of, here's what I'm going to do this year. This is what I have planned. This is what I really want to try. And frankly, my resolution for many years now has been to not make any resolutions because they are fraught with disappointment. So I don't want to make myself sad by setting up resolutions that I know I won't end up sticking to anyway, because they're sort of like destined to fail. But what can come out of sort of a new year and a new approach is the idea of forming habits, because habits can be formed through science. And through that scientific process of forming habits, you may change some things in your life that you're wanting to change. So instead of basing it on kind of, here are all of the things I'm going to do that are going to be different this year, maybe you focus on just a couple of small behavioral adjustments that you want to make. So we thought we'd talk about the sort of New Year's resolution approach and habits as we kick off today's show. So Rosemary, why don't you take it away?
Yeah. So one of the things that I do is, instead of setting a particular resolution of I'm going to lose 20 pounds or whatever, your classic resolutions are, I set a theme. My theme for this year is to reset things, refresh things, and just try and recharge, some of those areas of my life that maybe my systems haven't quite been working so well with. And one of those is with finances. And I've been doing a really poor job of tracking my subscriptions. So I have dusted out one of my old favorites. I've had this as an app cap before on the show, and this is Bobby. So Bobby is an adorable little squirrel who helps you keep track of all of your subscriptions, those things that you bury in a hole in the ground and pretend that, they're maybe not really there so much until, they actually go away from your account. So what you do in Bobby is you have all of your subscriptions, and then you can actually disable them if you want, and just view, for example, disable ones, and then you can actually set your interval as to how often they will recur. So you can see I've got my storage cupboard, which is just a little sort of shed space that I rent here where I live. And I pay £15 every month for that. I can see where I was first billed. I can change the icon, and then I can set my cycle. So I can be billed once every day, every week, every month, or every 6 months if I wanted to, etc. Now I'm going to reset that back to 1 month and just show folks how you can add a new subscription. So say I'd heard of this great thing called Club Twit. Well, I could just try and search for Club Twit. Now this is, it's a very popular subscription with our audience, but it's not yet made it into Bobby. So what you can actually do is you can create a custom subscription. You can change your currency. So even if your default currency is, for example, like mine, pounds, you can change this to dollars, and then you can set $7 a month. You can add a custom icon. Or you can just choose one. So I'm going to look and see if I can find something here that's appropriate for Club Twit, because there's a lot of really cool people in the Club Twit Discord. So I guess I'm going to have to go with, I'm not sure. Palm trees, yeah, it's quite a relaxing place to hang out. So let me just type Club Twit in there, and then I can add that. I can add a description. I could set categories if I want to. So I can just call this one, for example, memberships. There we go. Oop, that would be better if I could spell memberships, but that's one of those things. Perfect. So it's in the membership category now. And then I can choose a color. Now, obviously, Twit's got this lovely sort of turquoisey color. If I had an image, then I could pick out of that. And then I can say, okay, so I'm going to get billed for this on, well, the 1st of January, probably. And then every month after that, forever. Or I can even say, hey, I'm only going to do this for a year. So I'm just going to pop this in for 1 year. You know, if you've got maybe a short-term thing of like, I'm going to repay my friend like every 4 months for something, then you can just pop that in and have that expire. And then once I tap add, that will pop in. Club Twit's appeared down here, a bit lower down because it's not going to go out until the 1st of February again. But my average expenses per month at the bottom has gone up. And if I tap on that, then I can see both GBP and USD as to how much it's going to cost me. And this is really useful if you are paying for things like 1Password or similar, where it's billed in US dollars. But like me, you live in another country. So Bobby is actually a great app because it has things like iCloud Sync built in. You can have security, so you need to use your Face ID to open it, which is really handy for those of you who've got kids. And you maybe hand your phone off to your kids every once in a while to let them watch a video or play a game, but you don't really want them, messing with this sort of information. Well, you can put that away. So Bobby is free to download. And then if you haven't ever purchased an in-app purchase before, it's $2.99 to unlock all of the features. Or if you previously purchased something, then it's $1.99 to pay for that. Now, if you don't want all the features, you can actually just pay 99 cents to unlock the subscription limit. So there's a limited number of subscriptions in the free version, or 99 cents for the security pack, or 99 cents for the visual pack. So, you can take whatever you want, or you can just try the app for free and give it a go. There are some really great apps out there. I personally like Bobby because it's very pretty. It's very simple, and you know what? It works really, really well. It's really easy to add my iCloud subscription in here, and if I want to, I can even go ahead and change the icon, the theme, the fonts, all of that stuff, and even more, I can have it actually tell me what's going on. So I will actually see when I open this that, hey, the next payment that's going out, that's my storage covered in 1 week. You know what's not in here, Mikah, that I'm obviously missing? My mortgage. My mortgage is a monthly payment that goes out. I should have that in here. So yeah, feel free to take a look at Bobby. It's a great way if you're looking to refresh and review all of those subscriptions that you've got this year to keep track of those.
That is a fantastic app that, frankly, I will now be recommending to friends and family as well. I like the simplicity of it while still being so versatile. There's clearly so much that you can kind of set up exactly how you want to. So definitely worth checking out Bobby to track your subscriptions. And the purchase is very inexpensive as well to continue to use all of the extra features. So tell us about this next one, which is about time tracking.
Yeah. So I know a lot of folks, especially when it comes to the new year, will want to do things like track their time to see how much they're actually, spending doing things, especially those of you who've maybe got commutes or, you've got side gigs and you're trying to figure out how much time do you spend doing these or not doing them, as the case may be. And then you need to, figure out, is this worth keeping doing? And I signed out of the app earlier and I'm just signing back in, and it's unfortunately getting me stuck a little bit with an authentication error. Let me just try this one more time by looking at my phone. I see what I did wrong. I tapped the wrong button. If I don't tap the right button, there we go. Bingo. Perfect. So Lifecycle is an app which aims to automatically track your time for you. So what you can actually do with it is just have it enabled. And when you do this, you will actually need to, in the settings app, make sure that the location setting is set to always. And this is really important because Lifecycle automatically tracks what you're doing and it uses your location, among other things, to track it. So in the settings app under Lifecycle, you need to make sure the location is set to always. And don't forget, whenever you do this for an app, iOS will pop up like on a fairly regular basis to start with and go, hey, do you really want this app doing this all the time? And if you want this to work, then you're going to need to say yes. So I will tap skip there because I've already done this. And what it will do is it will go through and learn about you as it's done things. So I had this set up before. I should not have uninstalled the app and then reinstalled it before the show because it had a really great wheel of what I've been doing over the last week and where I've been spending time. So for example, because I've been spending time at my parents' place and my grandparents' place, I mark those as family time. And so if I looked at my wheel, it would show me that I had a lot of family time going on, a little bit of shopping time. And it really allows you to just see based on a sort of automatic tracking where you were, what you were doing, and, automatically categorize that. And so then you can update things and say like, oh, this location here, that's like a grocery shop. So that's like household errands or things like that. And really, narrow it down automatically, because I think the thing that a lot of people struggle with when it comes to like, okay, well, I need to figure out like, why am I not getting the things done? I'll do some time tracking. Is that good old, you started a timer and 360 hours later, it's still running. That's probably not very accurate. You've probably done more things in the last 360 hours than whatever that timer was. But your time tracking system just shows 360 hours in one stretch of doing this thing. So I really like Lifecycle for this as it's an option that you can give it a go. I've always previously used the free option. There is an in-app subscription of $29.99 a year. A purchase, one-time purchase, which includes online backups. So it's worth considering that if you really get into this. But this is made by the developers of the Sleep Cycle app. So if you've previously used Sleep Cycle and liked how it worked, well, this integrates with that too. And you can, add journaling to it, learn your trends, and so on. If you want to use it for tracking your work time, it's probably best if you're one of those people who actually goes to your day job instead of doing what I do, which is I sit here and I do my day job, and I sit here and I do my podcasting, and I sit here and have some fun. But you know what? You can always do a little bit of manual time tracking in there if you want to, check with your calendar to see what you're doing. But this is perhaps a good way to get started if you're looking to get a little bit more insight into your life and what actually is happening and where your time is really going.
I love the automatic tracking. That's a pretty clever idea, where then you do have this, I actually spent this past week doing some family time that I didn't know that, I hadn't remembered that I had spent so much time with that. I think mine would look rather depressing because so much of what I do happens right here. But I love that idea of doing that automatic tracking. The first app that I'm going to talk about is called Fabulous. And this is a daily habit tracker that is very focused on behavioral science. So this talks about how you are forming habits and how one can form habits and sort of looks at your all around life and tries to help you form those habits. So let's go through this process here. This is like the first startup of the app. It asks, how much sleep do you usually get at night? I typically get 8 hours, so I'm going to do 7 to 9. Do you wake up feeling well rested? Usually. How much time do you have at the start of your day? That would be 20 to 30 minutes. And then throughout your day, how are your energy levels? I'm highly energized throughout the day. I have bursts of energy throughout the day, or my energy fades throughout the day. How satisfied are you with your current fitness level? Completely. I feel fit and healthy somewhat. I'd like to see some improvement. Not at all. I'd like to see a major change. Over the past year, what's been your experience building better habits? I've been constantly improving my habits. I have built some good habits. I have tried to build good habits, but have not kept up with them, or I have not tried to build new habits. We hear you. What single change would improve your life right now? More energy, more productivity, more mindfulness, or more sleep? How often do you focus on the past or the future? Never. I live in the present. Some of the time, most of the time, or all of the time. How strong is your support system? Very strong. I can count on the people in my life. Medium. I worry people won't be there. Or weak. I feel isolated. And these questions will start to sound a little familiar for anyone who has done the surveys related to mental health, the sort of standard questions that you get asked. How distractible are you? Why are you embarking on this journey to build healthy habits? Whether it's to feel better about yourself, to improve your health, to set and achieve goals, or to be more like someone you admire. And then tell us what you're interested in. You could be interested in productivity, physical wellness, stoicism, the environment, purpose and motivation, emotional wellness, mindfulness, structure and organization, parenthood, detoxing bad habits, better relationships, aging, anxiety and stress, self-discipline, reading and studying, gratitude. It goes on and on and on and on. There's pet lovers. I'll choose that one. And then I'm going to choose continue. And then through that, it can kind of pick out the proper journey for you. And then it talks about how you go through this, but you can, it says share my growth plan. So that way you kind of have some accountability built in. So I'm going to just tap somewhere, and then it's going to ask me for my name and my age. And then it's going to ask me how I identify, what time I wake up, and then my email, which this is a fake account, so it's okay that this is being shown. Please do not send me motivational emails. And then you have a contract. I, Mikah, will make the most of tomorrow. I will always remember that I will not live forever. Every fear and irritation that threatens to distract me will become fuel for building my best life one day at a time. And then asks you to tap and hold on that fingerprint to commit to it. Is it going to let me? There we go. And it says that if you pre-commit to a goal, you're much more likely to go through with it. So the service is available for $5 a month, billed every 12 months, or you can go from there. So I am going to close out of that, and we'll see what it says here. So a Duke University study states that people who used Fabulous were more likely to achieve their goals, stay motivated, and feel better about themselves in 2 weeks. Now it's your turn. So we will go through and see how this works. Welcome to Fabulous. Mountains are cornerstones to build your fabulous self. Adventure through 3 levels to master these mountains. And you can see that it sets it up kind of like an adventure that you're going on. The first mountain forms the bedrock of those daily habits. Your foundation is fostered here. Then the second mountain shapes your inner world. You confront and fortify your mind. And then lastly, the third mountain is called the fountain, and it empowers your mind. You lay out and voyage the path you envision for yourself here. So this can maybe feel a little, goofy maybe to some, or sort of out there to others, but despite the kind of flowery language, I think at the base of it is what's important to understand. It's, a psychology-based approach. So we'll tap on an unexpected journey. And then, of course, you will want to set up notifications, and then it starts. So this has some audio that plays, and then it sets up some habits for you. So what do you need to do for the next 3 days? Drink water when you wake up to kickstart your body and start your day to success. I absolutely accept that challenge. And then we go on this challenge. So I did sip some water, and I can easily mark that off. There's a morning routine that has that habit. I'll mark that as done because I've done it, and then continue. And then you'll start to see everything that plays out. So here is a fun little letter that you can read, and I'll swipe up, and it reads kind of what you need to know about starting a habit and creating a rhythm and what's friction, and then you can mark that done. So the point here, and the reason why I'm showing all of this is that, sorry, now I've got some more prompts. So the reason why I'm kind of going through these different processes is to show how involved this app is. It has a whole journey that you can go on. And I think that for me, as someone who really engages with something that has a lot of stimulation, I do like that there are all of these different little kind of sub-quests that you go on and subplots that are involved as you are creating the routines and the habits that work best for you. And then also for me as a relative skeptic, I like that there's a lot of science involved in it, and that they talk about the science involved in it to help you build those habits. So that is Fabulous, the daily habit tracker, available in the App Store for free with, of course, an in-app purchase for $5.99 a month to check out kind of the full-bodied feature set. All right, let us move on to Rosemary's next 2 picks.
Yeah. So my next pick is something that I saw a physical version of this a little while ago, and I thought, you know what, this is brilliant. But I don't want a physical like clock that I have to have as a timer on my wall because it will inevitably be in the wrong room, or I'll lose it or break it or something, and it's just another thing. But there's a great app for this. And this is often used in sort of schools and so on as a really good visual way of helping you keep track of the time. So this is called Time Timer. Okay. It's very simple. You can buy physical ones of these on sort of Amazon and so on. But what you do is you actually set a timer. And as you set your timer, you can see if you're watching the video that there is a red section that moves around that timer on screen. Okay, so I'm just going to move this back and I'm just going to set this to 1 minute, which is unfortunately not the greatest visual representation of this because a minute doesn't last for very long and there's only one tick of this. But as your timer progresses, as it's running, it will actually decrease. And if you are watching the video and you zoom in on the clock that's on screen, then you'll actually see that the red band is actually getting smaller as the minute progresses as I talk. And what will happen is, as your time goes on, you'll see that you have less and less time remaining, which if you've got 30 minutes to do a bunch of things and get out the door, I found that this is a really useful little thing to just pop up, stick my phone on a stand somewhere where I'm going to see it as I'm doing things and just, no. Like you need to keep going. Don't get distracted. Don't look at the pretty shiny thing that you've just found. Put it to one side and keep doing whatever it is you're doing. And then as your time runs out, you see it. You can have audible and vibration cues as well, which is really useful for everybody. And then once it finishes, it will actually sort of ding and go, hey, your time is done. Finished. That's it. And there we go. I've finished. It's vibrated. It sent me a notification as well and said that my time is up. So what you can do is you can actually, if you use the settings and you've got a sort of scroll wheel version instead for this, you can actually repeat the number of times that the timer will run. You can choose to have vibration, audible, and audible cues and change the tone of the cue. And you can also set the display time. Now, if you don't like red, for whatever reason, you've got some other choices as well. There's a berry, which is sort of a pinky purple, a plum, which is more of a true purple, sky, which is a lovely sky blue, and lime. So if, for example, seeing a red timer stresses you out, this is a common thing. This is why if you have a red alarm clock and you wake up in the morning feeling cranky, try a green alarm clock instead. It genuinely works, folks, genuinely. You might find that using the green one is a little bit nicer, or if you're just Mikah and your favorite color is green, then, you can enjoy that. I'm not quite sure why that's not saving, but there we go. I just needed to go back into it and then run it again. See, lovely green. So you can run these timers. You can add more timers into your system and also choose to keep your device awake while this is running, so that if your phone usually auto locks, then when this app opens, it will not auto lock. You can also have a continuous alert, which means that the alert will keep going until the timer dismisses. Now, this is really helpful for folks like me with ADHD, or just folks who maybe struggle to keep track of the time a little bit when they're in the middle of doing a lot of things. I personally think that this is a great app and it's free to download. So it's well worth taking a look at. If you are somebody who just needs maybe a better, more visual timer, it can be very, very helpful while cooking, I must say. And the next app that I wanted to mention, I have also had as an app cap before. It's Tickmate. Okay, so if you're watching the video, you may be able to tell I've started using this again on January 1st, and I've set myself up with 6 new habits to keep track of. So Tickmate, the idea is that you build a chain of habits that you've successfully completed, or in my case, as you can see yesterday, I missed one of my habits. I actually missed lunch, unfortunately, which is not great, but if I tap on that, then I can actually see, I've put this into a food group, and that one's called lunch. So Tickmate is really simple. You create tracks, and then you can say, okay, this is a thing that I want to have checked automatically or not. It's got some presets for you. So, for example, didn't eat junk food, didn't smoke, symptom occurred, practiced instrument, took medication, walked pet, including a cute bunny rabbit. Don't forget bunnies need walks too. Exercised and read. And then there's some occasional tasks as well. For example, backed up files, which you can add. And then you can just, see. And this is really useful, even if it's not something that you need to do every day, just for keeping track of, hey, when did I last do this thing? So Tickmate is great. It's free to download. It's actually even open source, so you can go and like download the source code and play with that. Or it's got a one-time in-app purchase of, I believe it's $1.99 to unlock groups. So what I've got with my habits is some of these are in groups. So Bed Before Midnight is in my health group, for example. So I can actually see, based on those groups. But it's a great app. It's free to download and give a try. And yes, groups is $1.99 to unlock that feature. But aside from that, it's entirely free to use. So it's certainly worth giving a shot to if you're looking for a new habit tracker. Maybe you want something that's a bit simpler and easier to keep track of.
Yeah, speaking of a habit tracker that's simpler, the next app that I want to talk about is called, in parentheses, not boring, out of parentheses, habits. So this is one of the not boring apps that comes from the folks who make Not Boring Weather, Not Boring Calculator, Not Boring Timer. And so let me just, I think that, okay, I guess not. So we'll close out of that. So there is a subscription to get even more features, but I'm not going to talk about that because I want to show how the base works. So want to know the secret to building better habits? It doesn't have to be miserable. It simply comes down to repetition. That is the base science of it. Scientific studies have shown you need to repeat a new behavior 60 times for it to stick. 60 times. So this can help you, of course, go through that process. And this has a little bit of behavior that is kind of encouraging behavior to help you figure out or to help you kind of stick with it. So let's figure out something. So they give you some options like eat veggies, don't smoke, meditate, stretch. I'm going to put don't smoke because I don't. So I would be very good at this habit. I could mark it off every day, no problem. And then you set a routine of, when you want to kind of be reminded about this. So I would probably do for this one, I don't know, that maybe before bed, if you haven't smoked all day before bed, hopefully you go to bed and then you don't wake up in the middle of the night and need to. And then you can choose, which days it repeats. And then of course, allow those notifications to come through. Now, it starts out as a base, but as you complete a habit, you just press and hold in order to mark off a day, and then it will start to add to the little mountain. For every check that you do, you'll add another step along the journey and build out that base. So as you're going through, you can start to create more, and you get to play around with these little habits, which is kind of fun, or these little creations that you build. And so then you can add more habits as you might want to, and they can be in different places as well. But I'm going to mark that I didn't do that yesterday or the day before. Or the day before. And check this out. Now it's starting to build a little trophy that you have here with a little face on it. And so it's a very simple app that will help you with forming habits, and then to have these kind of fun animations that you get to play around with and view as you slowly but surely create those habits. So when you get up to 60, then you will have completed, this section, and it moves on to the next one. So there's a sense of accomplishment that comes with it, but it's very simple. And that's why I wanted to throw this one in there in comparison to the fabulous Daily Habit Tracker, which has a whole bunch of different features. This one is the incredibly simple habit tracker. All right. We've got 2 more for Rosemary, then 1 more from me, and then we'll head into the next segment. So Rosemary, take it away.
Well, the next one I wanted to talk about, Mikah, is actually one that I spotted on the App Store just a couple of days ago, and it's called Penbook. So Penbook is basically thinking of, paper and pen journaling, but on your iPad. That's right. So Penbook is a free app to download, and then it's I believe $14.99 a year in-app subscription to use with all the features. What you have in Penbook is you actually have this thing called a shelf. And so you put your notebooks on a shelf. Yep, it's very, analog in that sense. And there are all sorts of notebooks that you can actually just sort of download. So I've been trying the 2023 planner, but I did notice a small little thing in it. So if I actually pop into the 2023 planner to start with, it's got this lovely sort of year overview. It's imported actual events from my calendar, which is great. And then I went to the year and went, oh, That's a little bit of a problem because for those of you who aren't aware, the calendars over here in Europe and indeed outside a lot of the US start on Mondays. And this one, for folks watching the video, they may have already clocked it. It's a Sunday start, and having the weekend split up completely and utterly breaks my brain. So I've been going back and I've been having a look at creating my own planner because this is actually something that you can do. So what you can do is if you look in the options, then you can choose to create, and there's the yearly view. So I like that horizontal grid. Now I think I'm going to change it to this sort of lovely green and purple that really represents Mikah and myself very nicely. And I can choose if I want this to be a portrait page or a landscape page. Now this one works best in landscape. So I'm just going to create this. I don't even need to add a name to the book. And then I will just go ahead and keep adding some more pages to this later. So as you go through and look at this, you'll see that there are different daily pages you can use. You can have to-do pages, weekly pages, monthly pages. But on top of this, there's also note-taking options. So, for example, Cornell notes. So for those of you not familiar, Cornell notes, there's a wide margin on the left-hand side of the page. Flip it if you are indeed left-handed, because that would be inconvenient, where you can basically call out keywords so that you can skim through your notes and look for the things that are most important. There's also Cornelito, which I'm not quite sure what the difference is there, but there's French ruled, or Sayes, I believe it's commonly known as, neat French ruled, penmanship, tidy penmanship, or scientific options, including Perlewins, and other similar things. Indra is one that I'm perhaps a little more familiar with. Or there's logging graph paper. There's isometric options. There's perspective options for those of you into drawing. Or perhaps if you're more into music, then there are manuscript options, including quartet, lead, sonata, tab options for those of you wanting to write guitar tabs, and more. So you can really choose to, use this with its basics, with its templates, to build your own system entirely. Or if you want to, you can just go ahead and import a PDF of something. I don't have a PDF option to import right now, but once you've done that, you can go through, and I can actually just write something on this little page. So I've just attempted to add a star very quickly to the January, because that's my birthday. But you can do whatever you like with this as a planner. And if I just, I've got 5 pages of that here. So I'll just pop back into the original one and just scroll forward a little bit to get back into the weekly view. And then you can see in my weekly views, I've got, the plans of my various different things, including where I am right now in today. Yes, I'm in the middle of recording iOS today. Tomorrow I've got a mastermind meeting. I'm recording automators, and, maybe I'm going to do something else there, and I can just sort of go ahead and sketch this on to give myself a little plan of my day. I love the idea of this. And if you've been looking for something else, recommended by the App Store, is certainly worth a look.
Beautiful. And then one more, do you have, or would you like me to?
No, I don't have another one right now. This is, I wanted to mention very quickly that there's an app called Aloe Bud, which a friend of ours, Alex Cox, has recommended a couple of times. It's basically a self-care app which helps you remember to look after yourself and this little aloe plant. So you set it up, it sends you push notifications, and basically it reminds you to check in with yourself, breathe, drink, and motivate. I haven't really used it, but I thought it was worth a mention for anybody who's trying to be more mindful this year.
Yeah, I like the idea of a self-care app as well, because if we end up focusing a lot on these habits, we might forget the part where we should focus a little bit on ourselves. I'll run things out. So I mentioned an app that had all of these different features for habit tracking, and then I mentioned an app that was great for keeping things simple. The third app that I wanted to mention is one that uses the process of accountability, that uses the idea of accountability, and that is Habitica. Habitica is an RPG habit tracker. So you create a little character, and your job is to complete these tasks that you want to do. And by doing so, you gain little bits of gold that you can use to get your character mounts. So, they can ride around on horses. You can get little pets. But then where the accountability comes in is in two ways. One, you can kind of team up with friends, actual human beings who are also trying to complete tasks. And then by working together, you can gain more gold and all of that. But also, if you don't do certain tasks, it will actually harm your little character. So you can see I've got 50 out of 50 health. There are tasks that if I did not complete in a day, it would start to harm my little character. So I'm going to show how this works. This is the base screen, and I'm going to tap plus in the top right corner to create a new habit. So let's say the habit is do some stretches. So I will mark this in. Notes will include... I don't know, do the difficult stretches. Oh, there we go. Yeah, let's do that. Downward dog is the stretch that we want to do. And then this can be a positive habit. So it's one that you are trying to complete as a positive thing, or a negative habit, meaning one that you do not want to do. And so by not doing it, that is the habit. Daily, weekly, monthly, and then you mark the difficulty. So we'll go with easy, and then it can go into some, you can add some tags to it. In this case, it's none of those tags, so I will keep it without that. So now I've got that one added, and because I added that task, I actually completed an objective here. So create a task, complete a task, hatch a pet, feed a pet, and purchase equipment are some of the basic tasks. So I am going to mark this as completed. And then I am going to look through here. I've got process email, practice a new creative technique, and do a 10-minute cleaning. Then I'm going to tap on these dailies. Now, dailies, these are activities that you need to do every day. And if you do not do them, it will remove points from your health points from your character. So I'm going to say, yes, I did work on today's most important task because that was setting up for the show. And then I actually got an egg. So I can come into here and see I got an egg that's a fox. I got a hatching potion, and I got a quest. And we'll come back to that in a moment. But I'm also going to mark that I completed the dishes as I loaded those last night. And I found an item because of that. And then you've got to-dos. I did join Habitica. I completed a work project. I have now reached level 2, and I have organized some clutter. And then I can go to this section that shows my different rewards. So here I've got a tusk spear. The two prongs of this spear are shaped like walrus tusks, but are twice as powerful. Jab at doubts and at silly poems until they back off. It increases the strength of the character by 15. And this actually happens to be limited gear. So these are different items that I could buy if I wanted to. And those items are they don't last for very long. So right now I have 6 gold, which means that I could buy this training sword if I wanted to and add it to my character. And then the last area is the item, and I can hatch this with a potion. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to tap on the cotton candy potion, and I've got a cotton candy blue fox. My golly. So now I have my fox that's with me, and I can go back to this main screen and see my fox there. And there we go. I hatched the pet. Now it says complete tasks to get food. You can feed it to your pets from pets and mounts. So I'm going to tap, where was that? I think it's in the bottom right. I'll tap on pets and mounts, and then I will find, is that it? The fox right there. Tap on the fox and then feed it. And I've got pink cotton candy, so I can feed the fox, and now I've got that achievement as well. So the fox has been fed, and now all I need to do is purchase equipment. So I'm going to do that super quick just so you can kind of see what it looks like whenever you complete all of those basic tasks. So there we go. We completed those tasks. I've got 105 gold now, and I'm gaining experience. And then as I go through just doing my daily tasks, I get a stronger and stronger character that I can, buy stuff with and go out on these different quests with. So there are skills that you get. There you can unlock a class. So I could become a wizard. I can go out on different quests that I'd like to go out on. And then, of course, I can adjust the look of my character with these different items. And then here is the social section where this is a tavern that has some different people in it that are just part of the community. I can create a party and give people access to the party. You can join a guild or create a guild. And then, of course, you can complete these different challenges throughout that as well. So much fun. There's a lot to this app that will have you, doing your daily habits because suddenly you're part of a guild and you want to make sure that it's all set and ready to go and that you have held up to your end of the bargain with your fellow guild mates. So I thought that was a lot of fun. And I know a few people who do use Habitica and have been using it for a long time who very much enjoy that kind of experience. So some different options for you there. And that brings us to the end of the habits and resolutions section of the show, which means next up is the news. And Rosemary, you had a PSA for folks to kick things off.
So if anybody's been using Dark Sky and thought, this was kind of funny for the last few days, or you've got a relative who's been complaining that their weather app is empty, Dark Sky has gone away. That's it. So long, and thanks for all the fish, as it might say. Apple bought Dark Sky a couple of years ago, and it has officially said that it's done with moving the features over into the native weather app and leaving the Dark Sky app around. At any rate, the API is gone, and the Dark Sky app is empty of data. So if you were still using it, there is an Apple support document that will walk you through the weather app and how to use it. Carrot Weather has a Dark Sky mode, and any apps may still have a couple of months to switch over, but most of them should already have moved over from data sources. If they haven't done it already, then fingers crossed they'll get it done in the next few weeks because they're going to run out of time very quickly. So yeah, Dark Sky has gone bye-bye. We'll have to look at some weather apps in a couple of weeks, Mikah. Some folks in the Club Twit Discord had some really great recommendations of some of their favorite weather apps when we were talking about that earlier. So I think it might be a good one for the show.
Yeah, I agree. Some other quick hits here. The Information has a great new piece about the mixed reality headset that Apple is working on. There, of course, are lots of little tidbits in this piece, but it's talking about how this is bound to be a pretty risky product because of the kind of ongoing lack of interest in overall in the VR and AR market, and how we've seen, I just saw a story about how the Oculus Quest sales have gone down. I'm sure part of that is the fact that they raised the price on it. But also just folks in general kind of, I've seen so many folks who give VR a go and then they're like, oh, that's really cool. And then they're like,
and never use it again.
Yeah, exactly. I've got other things to do. So it'll be interesting to see how this specific headset ends up working out. And what we know thus far, of course, is nothing truly. It is only what sources say. And it's got allegedly, or reportedly, I guess I should say, 2 4K displays for each of the eyes, which of course makes an 8K image. The processors, there's going to be like a low latency processor that's supposed to help and will kind of turn this is all from the Information. There are cameras that are looking out into the world and are, capturing that view, and those cameras will have a distortion to that view. So one of the translators, or one of the processors that's on the board is an image signal processor, and its whole job is pretty much to turn those distorted images that it's capturing into something that is visible for the person that's looking through, so that it can be this kind of mixed experience. So there's some interesting stuff in this, the Information article. I don't want to report the entire thing because that, removes the value of the piece, and it, the Information is behind a paywall. So I won't go into all of the details, but I think this piece is well worth reading if you've got curiosity about Apple's headset. There's a lot there to take a look at. Now, The other story that I wanted to, actually a couple of other stories. One that I wanted to mention is that there has been a study at the University of Waterloo, Canada, that is all about using the Apple Watch and its ECG sensor to be able to predict stress levels. So what is going on here is it's using a machine learning or I guess several machine learning algorithms to look at ECGs. Those are electrocardiograms, or basically the electrical information coming from a heart as it's beating, and look at that, read it, and determine someone's current stress level. The idea is that, like a biofeedback machine, but already strapped to your wrist and being carried around regularly, this device could help to kind of give you an idea of when you are stressed out, which gives you the opportunity to examine what's going on in the current space and address it and, try to come back from that. So that is one of the bases of being able to tackle stress in your life, tackle anxiety, is being aware of when it's happening and then looking at what might be causing it and sort of sitting with those emotions and figuring it out. So if your Apple Watch could give you a little tippity tappity on your wrist and say, hey, you seem pretty stressed out right now. What's going on? And, you could take a moment for mindfulness, or at the very least, just be aware that something in your life at that moment is causing you stress. That's pretty cool. So of course, there's no official Apple Watch service that does check for stress, but this study and I think a few other studies have been looking at if the Apple Watch could be used to determine stress, particularly by looking at how the circulatory system is responding to, or I guess I should say, your cardiovascular health is responding to the inputs that are happening around you. It's heart rate variability is the term, HRV, and it looks at kind of the intervals between beats as opposed to the beats themselves, because the theory is that more variability is better, because it means that the central nervous system and the cardiovascular system are working together as they need to. And they found that if you have less variability, meaning that the heartbeats are more regular, or the spaces between the heartbeats are more regular, then that means that your central nervous system is not communicating properly with your cardiovascular system. And it tends to be that if that's the case, then the body is stressed out. So you want more heart rate variability, not less. And if you have more heart rate variability, you're likely less stressed and your body is less stressed than if you have more heart rate variability, in which case you may be more chilled and have gotten enough sleep and all that kind of thing. So interesting stuff. And then last but not least, Apple appears to be raising the price of its battery replacement service. So if you've got an older iPhone, an iPhone 13 or earlier, and you are looking to get the battery replaced, Apple has announced, according to 9to5Mac, that out-of-warranty battery service for all iPhone models, except for the iPhone 14, will be rising by $20. And this starts in March. So the iPhone battery service by Apple will increase from $69 to $89, again, without the iPhone 14 line being included in that. So, if you want to get your battery replaced, now is the time to do that before those prices go up on March 1st.
Yeah. Don't forget, you can check your battery health in settings on your iPhone. So it's worth doing that, and maybe check friends, family, relatives, etc., to see whether or not they also need to get a battery replacement, and suggest that they get it done sooner rather than later, because otherwise the complaining that you hear about the $69 will be infinitely more.
Amen. Folks, I want to tell you about a very important thing that we do here every year. It's the Twit Audience Survey, which you can access now at twit.tv/survey23. Which rhymes. I like that. twit.tv/survey23. This is our annual survey that helps us understand who you all are out there, all of you listening to this show. And it is so important that we get to hear from you, get an idea, get a picture of who you are, and get a deeper understanding. I have to say, I'm incredibly proud that iOS Today continues to be one of the most gender diverse shows on the network in terms of our listeners. So I want to continue to make this show accessible to people of all genders and make it a show that continues to be something that people of all genders are interested in. And so again, it means a lot to us whenever you go and do the survey, because then we find out that information, that we have folks who are not just men who are watching the show. It's like, yay, that's exciting. That's good. We want everybody to be able to watch the show and enjoy it is the point there. So twit.tv/survey23 is where you go. It'll only take you a few minutes. Many of us have tested it out to see if there's any sort of holes you can find yourself in. And in doing that, it took, a minute or two to go through the process each time. So it won't take you very long. The last day to do the survey is January 31st. So we will be closing it down after that. So please hop on that as you're listening to this show, twit.tv/survey23. All
I do
right.
love how diverse our audience is. It's
Yeah.
great. We always hear from so many different people from all sorts of countries, walks of life, and all kinds of people. And it's lovely that you all write in and tell us your questions and other things. So keep doing that as well, please. And it would be lovely to find out just how diverse our audience is if you are willing to share it in the survey.
Absolutely. And with that, I can hear the music. It's time for Shortcuts Corner. This is Shortcuts Corner, the part of the show where you write in with your Shortcuts Corner requests, and Rosemary Orchard, the Shortcuts expert, provides a response. The Shortcuts Corner request this week comes from Alex, who writes in, "Hello, Mikah and Rosemary. I use my iPhone quite a bit for my job, and it's absolutely essential. My job requires me to take photos of what I'm working on or work that I've finished, sometimes several times a day. But of course, this leaves me with photos of things I maybe only need to reference once or twice or send to someone before they can be deleted. Because of this and my ADHD tendency to forget to go through my photos library gets cluttered with work photos, making it hard to find the photos I actually care about. What I would like to do is have a shortcut to be able to filter through all the photos I've taken at work, maybe once or twice every few weeks, and be able to decide whether or not to keep the individual photos taken at work or delete them. Even better would be a way to automatically have any pictures taken at work get sorted for me so I can go through them later. I feel like this should be an easy thing to do, but I wasn't able to figure out a quick solution. Love the show and look forward to listening every week on my commute. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. As for the pet tax, here are some baby goats that were just born on my dad's ranch. Best, from Alex." So let's we can show the goats real quick, and then we will go into Rosemary's. Oh my goodness,
they're so
baby
cute.
goats. Wow, that's a really nice pin too.
Yes.
For the folks who are listening and not watching, there seems to be an adult goat, I would guess mama goat, a white and brown goat that's looking at the camera kind of like, "Hey, what are you doing over there? Don't mess with my babies." And then some baby goats on the ground, and maybe like a heat lamp on them, it looks like. They look very cozy.
Yes, they do. It's always lovely seeing pets that are sent in to us. And, the pet tax is entirely optional. But if you feel like paying it, if you have a pet or, a sort of pet that you can send in, then feel free to send that in if you've got a Shortcuts Corner request or any other kind of request. So I had a couple of different ideas to Alex. And fortunately, as I was reading his message, or their message, actually, I don't know if Alex is male or female, so their message, I was really pleased to see that they actually suggested what I was going to say, which is, actually, Alex, you can make this easier on yourself by taking the pictures and putting them straight into an album. And the way I would do this is with a little lock screen shortcut, essentially. So on your lock screen, instead of maybe having the camera app like maybe you currently do, then have a specific action that will open the camera for photos that you are about to take and then save them to a specific album. Okay, so what I did over in the Photos app, and I will just pop into the Photos app, is I created a work album. Now, as a warning, when you create an album in Photos, you have to add a picture. So I've got one of last night's dinner, which was some lovely Cuban prawn pasta. But what I will just do is if I actually select that, then when I tap on delete, then I can choose to just remove that from the album. So I now have an empty album. And then in the in the Shortcuts app, then what we actually want to do is I want to find that album so that I can save it. So what I've got is I've got a simple 2-step shortcut, okay, which says take one photo with the back camera, and it's going to show me the camera preview, and it's going to save this to the work album. Okay, so when I run this, okay, you'll see that it pops open the camera app, and now it's pointing at my desk. And when I take this photo, I can say, okay, yep, that's it, we're good. Use this photo. My iPhone may crash because I'm running a beta operating system, but it will then save that photo into that specific work album, which is probably going to be the solution that you need. There we go. My iPhone has come back to life now. So what I can do is I can obviously share this and put that into the show notes. But there's still the problem of all of those previous photos that you've taken, Alex. And, you know, this is kind of where it gets a little bit tricky. And so if you look in the Shortcuts app, under the apps section for actions, then there is a photos section. And there is also an action in that called select photos or find photos. And so now that this is loaded, I can actually pull that up for you. There we go, find photos. And what you can do here is you can add a filter. So obviously, if you've got any photos in this in the work album, then you can use the album to filter it. But if you've not got photos in that album and you're looking for the ones that you have specifically taken at work, then it's going to be perhaps a little trickier because there isn't specifically a location tag here, which is unfortunate. But if you know that you work on specific days and you probably only took work pictures on those days, you could look up for date taken. Or what you can do is actually just get any photos which were taken in the last 2 weeks. And I'm just going to change this from years to, I'm actually just going to change this to the last 2 days because I've probably only taken a few photos in the last few days. And then you'll see, you know, I've got, say, 9 pictures here. Perfect. And then what you can do is actually use a repeat with each to find the ones where the location of the photo was at work. And obviously this is going to depend on where you actually work, you know, to get that location. If you work from home, then you're going to have to, I'm afraid, do this manually. And I don't like saying that, which is why I would recommend having a shortcut that you use to take your pictures. Because if you use that shortcut to take your pictures, then you can just put it straight into the album and you can go into the album and then you will have photos in that album. Unfortunately, I don't have one, but if I just re-add, there we go. That one was a bad version of the picture that I don't actually mind to keep deleting. When you tap on that delete, instead of tapping remove from albums I did earlier, you can actually just delete that from your library, delete that photo, and bam, it'll be gone for good. So I would recommend from now on, at the very least, going through and using the shortcut to take pictures. If you have to take 2 pictures every time, then you can increase this to say take 2 pictures. Or if you need to take a selfie with your work, then you can change it to automatically use the front camera instead of the back camera, so that when you run it, then it'll automatically go to selfie mode. But you can, of course, you know, flip it so that it's the other way around. It may look like you have fewer options here. You do. But that is just an unfortunate side effect of taking photos through shortcuts. You don't have the full camera app, but I'm guessing you're probably also not taking portrait pictures or similar for work purposes. So that's what I would do. So I'll make sure that this one makes it into the show notes so that everybody can actually benefit from this. And fingers crossed it solves your issue from here on outwards.
Nice. All right. In the feedback and question segments, Dave wrote in and said, "Hi, Rosemary and Mikah. I recently purchased a 2022 Chevrolet Equinox Premier. It came with Apple CarPlay and wireless charging. I love having both features. Frequently, when exiting the SUV, I forget to take my iPhone with me into the house. Later, back to the garage I go to retrieve my iPhone. Is it possible to write a shortcut that would beep once when CarPlay is disconnected from the the iPhone, reminding me to pick up the iPhone. Thanks in advance. Love the show, Dave. This is a first world problem situation, but it's the reason why I laugh and I'm smiling a lot is because I can see myself doing this exact thing. This would be an issue that I would have too, 100%.
I've done
because
this
it's
like
also
6
easy,
times
right?
in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I've done so many times in the last 2 weeks. And you know what? Dave has actually, made me think, because I know that I've recommended an app on the show before, and I was looking earlier and I couldn't find it. I looked on my watch, I looked on my phone, and I know I've recommended something that when your watch and your phone get separated, it then dings on your watch to tell you. But you can't do this with shortcuts, unfortunately. That's the one thing you can't do. But I know that there's an app for your Apple Watch that will ding you when you've disconnected from your iPhone, and I couldn't find it earlier. So I was hoping that maybe you would remember, Mikah, or one of our listeners would have a recommendation.
Yeah, I don't have anything off the top of my head, but this is a great time to consult the brain trust. So those of you out there listening.
Found it.
Oh,
I've
wait,
just
what?
found it. It's called Phone Buddy. Oh my gosh. The reason why I couldn't find it was because I was looking for the wrong thing. So Phone Buddy, the phone lost alert. Let me just pop up. Hopefully I can share my watch screen on my phone. There we go. So it's just connecting to my watch. But if you look in the App Store on your Apple Watch, then if it ever shows up on my watch face, then people might actually see it. There we go. Phone Buddy, phone lost alert. So basically what this app does is it will tell you if you've lost your phone or when you're too far away from your phone. And I have used this before and it actually works. I probably need to just set this up again so that it works now. But you can actually there we go. Turn on the lost alert. So I need to make sure that I have the location settings enabled for this, and then I will be able to use this. And you can choose to have a Wi-Fi safe zone and all sorts of things. So I think that this app is probably the solution to your problem. And I'm just really annoyed that I spent like 25 minutes searching for this before the show and I couldn't find it anywhere. But now I found it. So yay.
So Rosemary, I was wondering, if I go into on my iPhone and I go into the Shortcuts app and I tap on automation, and I'm looking for you to tell me the reason why this might not work. And I choose create personal automation and I choose CarPlay. I say when CarPlay disconnects and I tap next, and then I choose let's say vibrate device and show alert. Would that work? If I have show alert and it plays the alert, maybe I could even say when CarPlay disconnects, set volume to 100, turn off do not disturb, and then vibrate device and show alert. Would that maybe be enough?
Yeah, so theoretically, that might work. What I would probably do, the trick when you do this is a side note. I'll just continue to the next screen. You'll need to turn off Ask before running, okay? Because otherwise it's not going to work. The problem I found with this is it will pop up, but when CarPlay disconnects, for me, at the very least in my car, does not happen until I actually open the door and start getting out of the car. And that is the point where the electrics and so on turn off and CarPlay disconnects from my phone, not before, which is why I found for me that doesn't work. What I would recommend is if you have the shortcuts and obviously you want to set up, I would set your LED flash to turn it on or something, and depending on how you put your phone on the charger, that may or may not work, but you could turn the flash on as well. You can certainly vibrate your device and send yourself a notification. The vibration will probably only appear on your iPhone and so on, and depending on when the CarPlay actually disconnects from your phone, like this may be a case of like by the time CarPlay actually disconnects, like I've basically shut my car door, so I'm probably not going to hear it or see it, which is why for me I'm going to be going with Phone Buddy now that I finally found it again. But yes, you can do this, can do it with this as well. It's just complicated depending on how your car works. I don't have a Chevrolet, so I can't tell you if it's going to work with a Chevrolet. I just know with a Renault, by the time my car actually disconnects the CarPlay, it's too late, and my phone's in the car, and I'm not anywhere near it.
Makes sense. All right. Well, I can hear the next set of music because it's time for the app caps. This, of course, is the part of the show where we wear caps atop caps atop our heads to honor our app and gadget picks of the week. These are the apps and gadgets we are using now or have been using for a long time that we think are great and want to share with all of you. So, without further ado, Rosemary Orchard, tell us about the cap atop your head and then tell us about your app or gadget pick of the week.
Well, Mikah, the cap atop my head, it's a lilac, blue and white sort of check pattern. It's really lovely. It's actually surprisingly warm and cozy because it's made of a lovely sort of knit material. Unfortunately, it's not great to wear at the moment in the UK because it's been chucking it down with rain here. So I have to wear this hat indoors because otherwise it'll just get soggy and that would be sad. But as it is, I get to enjoy wearing this hat now while I tell you about MindPal. So I've searched for MindPal for one particular reason, and that's because look at this app icon if you're watching the video. Isn't that a cute little koala wearing glasses?
Aww.
Love him. I think when I read the instruction, they specified that the koala was a him. But MindPal is essentially mind exercises, like puzzle solving problems intended to help you train your brain a little bit, which is something that, a lot of us may be thinking that we need to do a bit more of. You can actually play Wordle inside of this app as well, and it helps keep track of your score. So I'm not going to open that because I've already solved the Wordle for today. It was a tricky one. I got really, really stuck, and then I had a brainwave, fortunately, which is what this is all about. Now, I'm probably going to fail miserably at this, but basically there are different kinds of games that you play. So the game that I played earlier today was the Hexa puzzle, which I will just open and show folks the instructions. So basically what you have is you have an empty board of hexagons, and you have to drag the hexagon pieces that are stuck together onto the board. So this first example, I would grab the blue ones over on the left-hand side. So that's 4. So it's a 1, 2 stacked on top of each other, and 1 is sort of in the middle on the right-hand side over onto the left. And then I'd put the 2 verticals with a piece bottom left to them on the right-hand side of that. And that's relatively simple, but then you open it up and you go to play it, and oh my gosh, this is more difficult than I was thinking it was going to be. And you kind of have to try and just solve the problem. And it will take me a while to solve this anyway at the best of times. So I'm probably not going to manage to do this now. And she says that, managing to do it because she was playing this sort of game earlier. So my brain is clearly in a better mood for solving this. But this is one of those things where it's surprisingly tricky to solve, but it's also surprisingly good fun. And once you figure it out, you feel so great about it. There are hints that you can enable for this sort of thing as you go. So if you get stuck and you want a hand, then it can help you out. That's not going to fit there. Where are these pieces going to go? I don't know where they're going to go, but probably not like this because that doesn't work. So I can pull these pieces out once I've popped them in, and then come back and try again. So yeah, this is a fun app to download. It's free to try. I'm just going to tap pause there and actually quit this, and I'll come back and see if I can solve that later. But the idea is it will prompt you throughout the day to go through and do these mind games, which are deliberately designed to help train your brain and keep it active and so on, which especially if you've not got a huge amount going on at work right now, into the new year, maybe your boss isn't, giving you as much as you feel like you have time for in a day. This is a great way to occupy your brain and give you something to do other than just, endlessly scrolling Twitter, Mastodon, and
TikTok.
Whatever things are there. So I'm really enjoying MindPal. I like the fact that Wordle is in here. You can upgrade to the Pro option. There are a couple of different options. You can pay for the monthly, which is $9.49 a month. That's kind of pricey. Oof. If you pay for it yearly, though, it's $3.17 a month. Or there's a very reasonable lifetime option for £65 pounds at the very least. I believe it's the same price in dollars with Apple's current exchange rate. But you get access to all of the different games, advanced brain insights, and so on. It told me earlier that I'm apparently in the top 1% for my age group.
Hey.
I very much doubt that, but I think I was just having a very lucky moment. But that's okay. I'm going to take that compliment and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because, it's not often people tell you your brain's great, is it?
Yeah,
So,
take it to the bank.
Yeah. So that's MindPal, brain training.
Awesome. I will definitely be getting that as well. I am wearing a nice silk cap atop my head. This is something that I occasionally wear at night. I have semi-coarse curly hair, and so this keeps the hair atop my head protected. And I thought I would wear it today because I like the color. It's this bright orange color, and it also is nice and soft. So all of those reasons are why I'm wearing it atop my head. But my app cap is a relatively new app. It's called Sugar. I'm all about the parentheses apparently today. It's Sugar, and then game is in parentheses. This is a little puzzle game that is quite simple in its in how you play it, but I have had a lot of fun with it. So up at the top, if you're watching, you'll see that there's sugar that is falling out of a spout. And the goal is to get the sugar to fall into the mug, and you need 100 grains of sugar to actually fall into the mug. So I'm going to restart this level, and I'm going to draw a wow, why can't I say the word? A line from the spout to try to lead the sugar into the mug. Now, the first level is very easy. The spout is in the top middle of the screen. The mug is off to the left, and you draw the line to kind of ramp it down into the mug. But as you play, of course, it gets a little bit more difficult. So now I've got 2 mugs, and I need the sugar to go into both of them. One mug is on the far left side of the screen, about halfway up. One is on the far right side of the screen in the bottom corner, and the spout is still in the middle top of the screen. And so I'm leading sugar into those spots. And my watch is listening to me the whole time and thinking that I'm trying to talk to it. Now, in this next one, you have a situation where gravity is at play. And so you have a little arrow that you press, or actually a series of double arrow. And when you press it, it sends, or it changes gravity so that the sugar goes up instead of down. Now, I've noticed that the physics are not 100. Well, obviously, anti-gravity is not the case. But in terms of the way that the grains spill, I have noticed that it is a little inaccurate. So you do need to sometimes redraw the lines to be able to do it. And if you do not pay for the app, it's $1.99 to pay for it. And when you pay for it, then you get no ads. But if you don't pay for the app, then you can add more sugar to the level by watching an advertisement. So if you run out of sugar, or if the sugar stops spouting, then you can pay to have more sugar added. And then also occasionally as you are playing, when you've completed a level, they will show you some ads. So right now there's an ad on the screen, and I'm going to tap to get out of that and move on to the next level. I'll show one more here. So in this case, there are 2 mugs, one on the left that is up in the top left corner, one on the right that's in the bottom right corner. And my goal, of course, is to get the sugar into those mugs. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another triangle to kind of spout them into both areas. And we'll start by filling the mug on the right with sugar completely. And then once we finish with that one, then we can fill the mug on the left that's in the top with sugar. But you just keep playing like this. So it has multiple levels that have these little twists in them where you're going, oh, wait, how am I supposed to do that? How am I going to get sugar into that mug? And as you play it, it gets more and more complicated, but it's just delightful and simple, which I enjoy. So that is Sugar Game, available to download for free in the App Store, $1.99 in-app purchase to remove the ads, and of course also support the developer. This is a developer who makes lots of little puzzle games for iPhone and iPad, including Yellow Game, Blue Game, Black Game, and they're all Pink Game as well. And these are all just little puzzle apps for your iPhone. So this is just one of the latest and I think great app available to play. With that, we have reached the end of this episode of iOS Today, our first episode of the new year. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope that you got some New Year's resolutions or habits, ideas for being able to keep track of those and sort of lock those in. We thank you for tuning in every week. If you would like to send in feedback, shortcuts, corner requests, etc., you can email us iostoday@twit.tv. You can also send those to our Mastodon account, iostoday@twit.social, or if you'd like to, you can tweet with the hashtag AskIOSToday. Basically, we try to find your requests, your questions everywhere so that we can get those answered. And if you'd like to, you can tune in live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern at twit.tv/live to watch us as we record the show. So you can see how the sausage gets made, of course. But we think the best way to get the show is by subscribing or following, because if you do that, then the final, finished, polished, beautiful version of the show is available to you. And you get that by going to twit.tv/iOS. There, you will find links to click subscribe to audio, subscribe to video, where you can say, hey, I'm using Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Pocket Casts, and I want to get the show there. So we try to make it as easy as possible for you to subscribe and have it as soon as it's ready. This is a great time to mention Club Twit. For starting at $7 a month or $84 a year, you out there can join the club at twit.tv/clubtwit. And when you do, you get access to some pretty great things. First, every single Twitch show with no ads, because you, in turn, are supporting the show. You also get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra content you won't find anywhere else, and access to the Club Twit Discord. That is a place where you can go to chat with your fellow Club Twit members and also those of us here at Twit. It's a fun place to hang out and chat and ask lots of great questions that end up making their way into the show. And if you thought it stopped there, you have thought wrong, because you also get some great shows, including the Untitled Linux Show, a show, as you might imagine, that's all about Linux, access to Hands on Windows, which is a show by Paul Thurrott that covers Windows tips and tricks, and access to Hands on Mac, a show from yours truly that covers all things Apple, Apple's iOS, iPadOS, et cetera, et cetera. It's a short format show, so you can kind of check out some of the different features and settings and apps that I recommend and suggest for your different devices. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, where should they go to do so?
Well, the best place to go is rosemaryorchard.com, which has links to everywhere that I am on social media, including Twitter, Rosemary Orchard, micro.blog, Rosemary Orchard, Mastodon, rosemary@snailedit.social. And of course, you can also find me hanging out in the Club Twit Discord, where we have been talking various weather apps today. And it looks like Wonder Warthog is sharing current podcast apps, Downcast and Overcast, as well as podcast app. Good choices. So yeah, you can find me in all the places. Mikah, what about you?
You can find me at Mikah Sargent on many a social media network, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee, chihuahua.coffee, where I've got links to many of the places I'm most active online. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in to this episode of iOS Today. I will be back next week with special guest Christopher Lawley, but Rosemary Orchard will be back the following week, and we will, of course, be with you throughout the year. Until then, I hope you all have a fabulous rest of your day or night, and we'll catch you next time on iOS Today. Goodbye.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, a bunch of game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. But you already knew all that. What you may not know is that Twit now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club Twit Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club Twit exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club Twit member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.